Hello and welcome to this episode of the Realize Podcast, Realize Fitness Podcast. Today, this is all about weight loss versus fat loss, or trying to understand that there's a massive difference between weight loss and weight gain, that fluctuation on the scales, and fat loss and fat gain. They're two different things. And I think for years, I remember going onto a course, we're probably talking over 10 years ago, Jay Teeter again, Metabolic Effect. It was a course all about fat loss and the effect of hormones on fat loss. Amazing. And I came away from that thinking, right, do you know what? I'm not going to use the word weight loss ever again. Because weight loss, it's not about weight loss. And once you've listened to this, you'll get to understand a bit more. But it's not about weight loss. It's not just simply about losing a certain amount of weight. It's about what weight you're losing. And it's all about fat loss. It's the fat we want to lose. And let me explain this. There's a lot of stuff to explain. But yeah, hopefully over the next 20, 30 minutes, you'll come out of this a bit more knowledgeable and understand a bit more about what's happening. This links up very nicely, actually. This episode links up nicely to the scales. I think it's episode 3 in this series. And it links up nicely to that because that explains the scales. Are you getting the best out of your scales? Are you using the scales correctly? Which might seem madness, but actually, again, as we get through into this one, you'll learn a bit more. But yeah, there's a massive difference between weight loss and fat loss. Weight and fat. Fat makes up your body weight, but there's so many different components of your body and your body weight that you can't just. It's like going back to what I was saying. I came back from this Metabolic Effect course, and I was adamant, yes, I'm not using weight loss anymore. It's all about fat loss. So when I sit down with clients, with class members, with anybody that wants to diet, lose weight or whatever, when they say to me, oh, I want to lose weight, get into shape, whatever, I will then say, no, I'll pull them up on it. It's not weight. You don't want to lose weight. You want to lose body fat. And I bang that drum for a good, because I'm quite stubborn, for a good sort of 3 years. But eventually, because we've all been programmed so much from diet clubs and whatever, people just didn't get the correlate, they didn't get the fat loss thing. It was still, no, I want to lose weight, I want to lose weight. I think in the public eye and that on social media now, I think it's a bit different. People are now getting the idea and getting the understanding of this, that it is fat that they want to lose. So yes, I'm now back trying to talk about fat loss. So let's go back to school, back to that biology lesson, and let's go over what makes up the human body. So what organs and what components make up the human body. So when we step on the scales and the scales tell us our total body weight, what makes up that weight? So we'll start with, imagine the skeleton, a human skeleton. We'll start with that. So bone. Bone weighs something, and bone will make up part of that number on the scales. On that, put on all your organs. So we're thinking brain, we're thinking heart, lungs, your digestive system, liver, kidneys, all that kind of stuff. Put those organs on there. They're going to weigh something. Now, before we move on, let me just quickly say as well, in terms of your digestive system, I think there's two things, and I'll explain this as we go. There's two major things that can affect your body weight and affect it quite quickly on a daily basis. One is water, which we'll get onto. The other one is food weight. So if you can imagine in your head now, you eat something, it goes down your esophagus, it goes into your stomach, it then gets digested into your intestines, into your bowels. It takes a while to get through that. So you can't have the same amount of food that's digesting through your digestive system. You can't have that exact same weight on a daily basis. So food weight can make up, a different, a fluctuating part of your weight on a daily basis. And especially if you then, on the scales episode, we do talk about favourable and non-favourable. Thanks, Angela, one of my clients, Angela. We talk about this a lot. But you can't weigh yourself in after going to the toilet and weigh yourself in the next day not going to the toilet and just expect your weight to be the same, because you've now not got the food weight in your system as you had before, if that makes sense. Yeah? So food and water, we'll come to it, and I'll explain why those two things do make your weight fluctuate on a daily basis. So that's your organs. On top of those organs then, you've got what's called soft tissue. So this is then your muscle. Put that muscular frame on, that skeletal muscle. You've got ligaments, you've got tendons. You've got your blood vessels, obviously, as well, that go on there. You've then got, between that layer, between your muscle layer and your skin, you've got what's called subcutaneous fat. So this is the fat we want to lose. This is the fat that most people, when they say, I want to lose weight, it's really this, the soft, flabby bits, arms, stomach, legs. It's body fat that people want to lose. And they say they want to lose weight, but what they're really saying is, I want to tone up and I want to lose this layer of fat. You've also got the second one is visceral fat. Visceral fat is fat that's found around your organs as well. So there's two places that this can be stored. And the big issue is, without going into too much detail, because I'm sure I'll talk about this on another episode, but one of the big issues is it's not quite unlimited, but you can store a lot of fat. The fat cells and fat, it's basically, in a nutshell, how your body stores excess energy. So if you're taking in more energy, more calories than you burn on a daily basis, that's where it will store it. Okay, so that's how we can end up putting on lots and lots of body fat, because that's the easiest way for your body to store it, and it's not limited like muscle and liver for carbs, for example. So that's what your body is made of. So that's a biology lesson. That's what your body is made up of. We then can talk about, you probably have heard the phrase body composition, when people are looking sort of bodybuilding, getting into those bikini comps, all that kind of stuff, and then you start looking at lean muscle and fat. So body composition is made up of muscle, bone, fat, and water. They're sort of your four components of body composition. And I think what we all want to do is we all want to gain a little bit of lean muscle. And we're not talking about, all turn into bodybuilders, but it is really good for us to have that extra little bit of muscle, a few extra pounds of muscle, just to be able to move better, and just health-wise, it's so much better for us, and reduce the body fat. So on those four components, muscle, bone, fat, and water. So bone is fairly stable. You're not going to affect that too much. Muscle is still relatively hard to build and to grow. So that's going to be sort of medium to long term. And same with fat. Fat does take a while. Fat's not going to fluctuate on the scales on a daily basis, and I'll explain more. Whereas water can. Let's have the water chat. So we've chatted about the two things. We've chatted about food weight. So if you've ate a higher volume of food over a few days, the chances are you're going to be heavier on the scales, because your body has still got that extra food that's undigested in its system. Once you get back to normal and you've basically pooped that extra out, your body weight will return to a more normal level. Now water, same with water. Now bear in mind, this is the biggie. So water, we are made up of 50 to 60 or 55 to 65% water. Now let me try and put that in a way that you can sort of visualize that a bit more. Now, let's take a 70 kilogram person, which, is it new money or old money? I don't know. But if you're more stone and pounds, that's about 11 stone. So let's take a 70 kilogram person, 11 stone person. Let's say in fact, let's take two. So person A is pretty much hydrated. Drinks, religiously drinks, I don't know, 2 to 3 litres of fluid a day. Don't drink too much alcohol. Don't drink too much caffeine. And their hydration level is around about 60%. So the top end. So they're sort of, on the higher end of hydrated. Okay, that means that 60%, their body, they're going to be carrying 42 litres of water. So their body and their body weight on the scales is 42 litres that we can convert, because a litre, 1,000 millilitres, a litre of water is a kilo in weight. So a litre of water is 2.2 pounds. Okay? So on the scales, this 70 kilo person who's nicely hydrated at 60%, 42 kilos of weight on that scale is water. Okay? Now, let's look at person B. Person B, same weight, but person B drinks alcohol most nights, likes their coffee, and doesn't really drink, too much fluid. Isn't one of these that goes into the office with their 2 litre big bottle of water and gets that down in a day. They don't. So they actually come in at 50. Let's go with that. They come in at 50%. So they're just borderline sort of hydrated, but they're at the lower end of hydration. And this is easy maths now. That's why I picked 50. So they are 35 litres. They're carrying 35 litres of water. And on the scales, that's 35. 35 kilos of their body weight is water. All right? So let's say person A has 3 or 4 days worth of, they're so busy at work, it's all kicking off at home. They don't hit their 2.5 litres of water consumption on those 3 days. And also, let's say we're getting into summer as well. So they're perspiring a bit, they've sweated some water out, and they've not replaced it, and they're not drinking what they normally would. Let's say they then drop down to just by 1%. So they go from 60% water to 59, right? That drops them from 42 litres to about 41, just over 41 litres. And like I've said, that is a kilo. So they've gone from 42 kilos to 41, 41.3, but they've dropped nearly a kilo in weight. It works out as 0.7. It works out over, a pound and a half. So that person on the scales, oh wow, crikey, I've lost weight. But it's not fat, it is water. And they've done that over 2 or 3 days. All right? Person B, let's say person B, we're in January right now. Let's say person B is like, right, I'm having a big health kick here. I know that I need to drink more. I've chatted to my mate, chatted to my missus. I've got to drink more. They decide to start to drop off a couple of coffees, to maybe drop off that dry January as well, say, and they start drinking a bit of fluid. Let's say they go up to 5%. They go 5%. So they go from 50% water to 55. 55% water. That's they're now carrying 38.5 litres of water in their system now. Peeing like a racehorse, probably. But let's say their hydration level goes up. That's 7 pounds. That's over 7 pounds. It's about 3.5 kilos they would have put on. Yeah? I saw, actually, it's quite interesting as I sit here now. Yesterday, I saw a video by James PT, those that know James PT, name dropping. But he did a short video on Instagram yesterday, and he basically drank, or he tried to make out, he drank a 2 litre bottle of water. He weighed himself before, he drank that, and obviously he was then 2 kilos. He was a nice 4.5 pounds heavier on that. But there was the point of the video was, don't freak out, don't worry about it. That is water. And having this information will make you not become disheartened, especially because this is really for people that are wanting to lose weight, wanting to lose body fat. And it can be really disheartening when the scales are budging and are going down over a period of time, but then jump up and go down, and they're literally all over the shop. And for you, it doesn't make any sense. You're trying to watch what you're eating, you're trying to move a little bit more, and you don't quite understand what's going on. And it can become very disheartening because although you want to lose weight, you are seeing the fluctuations on the scales as fat. So you've got to know how the pattern of behavior of fat loss to weight loss. So we can flip that as well. So like I say, so person B is gained. They've just started drinking. And they could, especially if they're on a diet, become really disheartened and think, hold on, I've gained about 4 or 5 pounds or whatever, but all they've done is become more hydrated. And they might not pick that out. And I'm sure I've chatted to people in the past, and I've said, well, what do you sort of drink much? Oh, well, actually, yeah, I've started to try and drink a bit more. Well, that could be the reason that your weight has gone up. And water, this is the other thing. Weight can fluctuate, fat can't. You can't have your fat, the amount of fat you have on your body, your fat percentage or fat weight, that will not fluctuate over days. It will not do it. But water can. Your body weight can fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. Again, go to the scale. I'll put it in the comments below, actually. Go to the scale episode, and I explain all this on there. But your weight will fluctuate, pretty much everybody's, by a little bit every day over a 7-day period. But those fluctuations are mostly down to water and food weight, like I just said. The other thing as well, let's just wrap up about water. The other thing, again, we're diet time. Excuse me, let me have a quick swig. Oh, on the old coffee. So we're currently the main diet time of the year. So like I say, I'm sat here recording this and it's the middle of Jan. So everybody's jumping on a diet. Now the thing is as well with dieting, and that water, the link to water as well. And people, I think this is more out there as well, that people might have seen this. But if you reduce your carb, if you go onto a low carb diet, carbs, a gram of glycogen, so glucose gets stored and linked together into glycogen. The glycogen is just a larger glucose molecule. And a 1 gram of glycogen that you would store in your liver or in your muscles needs 3 grams of water to be able to store it. So again, look at this from both angles. If you're on a diet and you're thinking, right, do you know what? I mean, my missus, like, she would think carbs. I can't be eating too many carbs. So let's say you decide, right, do you know what? I'm not going to have so many potatoes, not going to have so much pasta. I'm going to reduce my carbs down, try and eat a bit more protein. The thing is, by reducing your carbs, reducing your stored carbs, on the scales, it's going to look quite nice. Because if you lose a pound of carbs, a pound of glycogen stored, you're going to lose 3 pounds of water. So 4 pounds over whatever it may be, 2 or 3 weeks, it looks nice on the scales and can fool you into thinking, oh, this diet's working. This is working really well here. But then, like I say, that will level out. And if you're not actually in a deficit and you're not actually losing fat, your body weight is then going to plateau. And if you then have a day or two where actually you get a little bit carby and your body draws back in that fluid, you can actually then gain on the scales again. So water is, in my opinion, has the biggest effect on weight gain and weight loss. So when you jump on the scales and you're thinking, and we've all been there, when you've jumped on the scales and think, look, all right, this week I've done everything right. What the heck? How come I'm a pound up? have a think about your water. Again, hormonal as well. Hormonally, women especially, your 28-day cycle, there'll be a time within your menstrual cycle that your body holds on to fluid more than others. So you've got to become a detective when it comes to this and just know a bit more when jumping on the scales. So water weight can change, food weight can change, any change in the scales that happens quickly, I guarantee it's not fat. It just can't be. So just have a little think about what that is. The caveat to all this as well, if I just put this caveat in here now, I mean, let's say you weigh yourself, like I said, if you weigh yourself for 28 days, every day for 28 days, and then you average where you are. So if you find your average weight on a weekly basis for 4 weeks, and actually it's fluctuated, but your average weight over those 20 days is still the same, then you're not losing fat. If your average weight over 28 days has gone up, then you must be eating more than you're burning. So there's a good chance you've gained fat. But if you have dropped a pound or two on average over a month, then that's where you want to be, and the chances are most of that is body fat. Body fat takes time to lose. Weight doesn't. Weight fluctuates. We'll go on to actually now, quickly, sort of just to cement this idea. Think about martial arts. Think about boxing. Think about combat sports. Now, let's take boxing, for instance. Boxing has, I don't know however many weight divisions. So to make it fair, they have 2 people pitted against each other that have got to be within a certain weight range. But they normally have a weigh-in the day before. And you sometimes get the guys getting on the scales and one will be over. They'll weigh more than their range is allowed. And what do? The quickest way to lose weight is drop water. So they will go off to a sauna. They'll jump, depending on how much they have to lose, they'll go off to a sauna. They'll jump on a treadmill and put a sweatsuit on. Anything just to get some of that water weight out and drop their weight down. And the quickest way to do it is water. If you don't see them going off and trying to lose fat. Fat takes time. And to carry on with the fat, so let's move on. So that's water. Let's talk more now about fat. So weight is made up of all those components, including fat. But how do we know that the scales aren't showing you that you've lost fat or gained fat? Now, so let's go back to school, get into the maths class and crunch some numbers to prove this point. So, a pound of fat is 3,500 calories. That's what a pound of fat contains energy-wise. So, if we wanted to lose a pound of fat, we would have to burn an extra 3,500 calories to burn a pound of fat. Flip that round, to gain a pound of fat, we would have to consume 3,500 calories. Now, obviously, if you think about that over a period of a week, if you get into, it divides 3,500 divides nicely into 7. So if you were to underconsume, if you were to get into a 500 calorie deficit over a week, you've got a great chance of losing a pound of fat. But if you were to overconsume, being a calorie surplus by 500 a day, you would gain a pound of fat. So what I want you to think about is, this is why the short term little fluctuations are not fat, because you can't lose or gain that quickly. Think about the main one I like to look at, the main example is the weekends. You think, how many times have you weighed yourself on a Friday morning and then you've re-weighed yourself on the Monday? So 3 days, and let's say on the Monday morning you're 3 pounds heavier. which can be easily done over a weekend. So your body weight is 3 pounds heavier, and you're thinking, oh my goodness me, I've put on 3 pounds of fat. How the heck have I done that? And how many times have you been ready to throw the towel in, you're just disheartened, and you're ready to go on another binge throughout the rest of the week? But with the knowledge and information we've given you in this episode, you should come to understand that that's not 3 pounds of fat. Let's go back to the maths. So we know that 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So 3 pounds of fat times it by 3 is 10,500 calories. So you would have had to consume, to put on 3 pounds of fat, you would have had to overconsume by 10,500 over that weekend. But the thing is, I'm sure there's a lot of you shouting, oh yeah, easy, I could do that. But that is on top of your normal calories. So let's say, for instance, your maintenance calories, the calories you are to consume to keep your body weight, your body fat the same, maintenance, let's say that's 2,000. So you've got to consume 2,000 every day for those 3 days just to maintain where you're at. So you've then got to eat 3,500 on top of that. So that means every day of the weekend, you've got to consume 5,500 calories. So that's 16.5 calories for the weekend. Now, I've relaxed, on the diet, and I've enjoyed myself, food and drink every weekend. But I dare say I've come nowhere near 16,500 calories. So it cannot be those fluctuations, those daily fluctuations cannot be body fat. And then you even think about it. So you've weighed yourself in on Friday. You've weighed yourself again on the Monday, and you've gained 3 pounds. But you've thought to yourself, right, I'm going to stick with it. I'm motivated, I'm on it. So then you've re-weighed yourself again 3 days later, and that's come off. So now you've got now a 6 pound swing. Now, if that's body fat, you've literally overeaten by 11,500 to then undereat by 11,500 to get that. And it's just impossible. You can't do it. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. And just to wrap up and give you some take-home points. So total body weight includes body fat, but also many other components that can impact on your weight. And like we've just said, point number 2, water and food weight are more than likely going to be what's causing your fluctuations. Yeah. So thirdly, hopefully when you listen to this or you watch this episode, it's going to stop you becoming disheartened. It's going to allow you to just stay in the game for longer, because believe you me, if you can get yourself in a deficit through improving your diet, through getting out there and moving, and if you can get through that first 30 days, 60 days, where you can see, when you plot out your weight over a long period of time, and you can see that downward trend, and you start getting pound after pound of body fat off, and you start seeing difference, when you start revealing the muscle underneath, and you start seeing a bit of tone, and you start losing those inches, it is going to be well worth it. So hopefully from this, you won't chuck the baby out with the bathwater. You'll stick in the game, and you'll start getting the results you really want. And also from this, it should hopefully give you a more informed reaction to the scales. So when you get on there, you'll have a more informed, rounded approach to it. You won't get too emotional with it. You won't get too cross with it. You'll understand it, and you can carry on from there. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you've not already, please subscribe to our channel, and please give us a like and share. And by all means, get in touch with us through the comments below. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.